the Fugitive Slave Law, a bill to amend the act entitled An Act Respecting Fugitives from Justice and Persons Escaping from the Service of Their Masters, be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that the persons who have been or may hereafter be appointed commissioners in virtue of any act of Congress by the circuit courts of the United States, and who, in consequence of such appointment, are authorized to exercise the powers that any justice of the peace or other magistrate of any of the United States may exercise in respect to offenders for any crime or offense against the United States, by arresting, imprisoning, or bailing the same under and by virtue of the 33rd section of the Act of the 24th of September, 1789, entitled An Act to Establish the Judicial Courts of the United States, shall be and are hereby authorized and required to exercise and discharge all the powers and duties conferred by this Act. Sec. 2. And be it further enacted that the Superior Court of each organized territory of the United States shall have the same power to appoint commissioners to take acknowledgments of bail-in affidavit and to take depositions of witnesses in civil causes, which is now possessed by the circuit courts of the United States, and all commissioners who shall hereafter be appointed for such purposes by the Superior Court of any organized territory of the United States shall possess all the powers and exercise all the duties conferred by law upon the commissioners appointed by the circuit courts of the United States for similar purposes, and shall moreover exercise and discharge all the powers and duties conferred by this act. Sequence 3rd. And be it further enacted that the circuit courts of the United States and the superior courts of each organized territory of the United States shall from time to time enlarge the number of commissioners with a view to afford reasonable facilities to reclaim fugitives from labor and to the prompt discharge of the duties imposed by this act. Sec. 4. And be it further enacted that the commissioners above named shall have concurrent jurisdiction with the judges of the circuit and district courts of the United States in their respective circuits and districts within the several states, and the judges of the superior courts of the territories, severally and collectively, in term time and vacation, and shall grant certificates to such claimants upon satisfactory proof being made, with authority to take and remove such fugitives from service or labor under the restrictions herein contained to the state or territory from which such persons may have escaped or fled. Section 5. And be it further enacted that it shall be the duty of all marshals and deputy marshals to be and execute all warrants and precepts issued under the provisions of this act when to them directed, and should any marshal or deputy marshal refuse to receive such warrant or other process when tendered, or to use all proper means diligently to execute the same, he shall, on conviction thereof, be fined in the sum of $1,000 to the use of such claimant, on the motion of such claimant by the circuit or district court for the district of such marshal, and after arrest of such fugitive by such marshal or his deputy, or whilst at any time in his custody under the provisions of this act, should such fugitive escape, whether with or without the assent of such marshal or his deputy, such marshal shall be liable, on his official bond, to be prosecuted for the benefit of such claimant for the full value of the service or labor of said fugitive in the state, territory, or district whence he escaped, and the better to enable the said commissioners, when thus appointed, to execute their duties faithfully and efficiently in conformity with the requirements of the Constitution of the United States, and of this act, they are hereby authorized and empowered within their counties respectively to appoint in writing under their hands any one or more suitable persons from time to time to execute all such warrants and other process as may be issued by them in the lawful performance of their respective duties, with an authority to such commissioners or the persons to be appointed by them to execute process as aforesaid, to summon and call to their aid the bystanders or posse comitatus of the proper county when necessary to ensure a faithful observance of the clause of the Constitution referred to in conformity with the provisions of this act. And all good citizens are hereby commanded to aid and assist in the prompt and efficient execution of this law whenever their services may be required, as aforesaid, for that purpose. And said warrants shall run and be executed by said officers anywhere in the state within which they are issued. Section 6th. And be it further enacted, that when a person held to service or labor in any state or territory of the United States has heretofore or shall hereafter escape into another state or territory of the United States, the person or persons to whom such service or labor may be due, or his, her, or their agent or attorney, duly authorized by power of attorney in writing, acknowledged and certified, under the seal of some legal office or court of the state or territory in which the same may be executed, may pursue and reclaim such fugitive person, either by procuring a warrant from some one of the courts, judges, or commissioners aforesaid of the proper circuit, district, or county, for the apprehension of such fugitive from service or labor, or by seizing and arresting such fugitive where the same can be done without process, and by taking or causing such person to be taken forthwith before such court, judge, or commissioner, whose duty it shall be to hear and determine the case of such claimant in a summary manner, and upon satisfactory proof being made by deposition or affidavit in writing, to be taken and certified by such court, judge, or commissioner, or by others' satisfactory testimony duly taken and certified by some court, magistrate, justice of the peace, or other legal officer authorized to administer an oath and take depositions under the laws of the state or territory from which such person owing service or labor may have escaped, with a certificate of such magistracy or other authority as aforesaid, with the seal of the proper court or officer thereto attached, which seal shall be sufficient to establish the competency of the proof, and with proof also be affidavit of the identity of the person whose service or labor is claimed to be due as aforesaid, that the person so arrested does in fact owe service or labor to the person or persons claiming him or her in the state or territory from which such fugitive may have escaped as aforesaid, and that said person escaped to make out and deliver to such claimant, his or her agent or attorney, a certificate setting forth the substantial facts as to the service or labor due from such fugitive to the claimant, and of his or her escape from the state or territory in which such service or labor was due to the state or territory in which he or she was arrested, with authority to such claimant or his or her agent or attorney to use such reasonable force and restraint as may be necessary under the circumstances of the case, to take and remove such fugitive person back to the state or territory from whence he or she may have escaped as aforesaid. In no trial or hearing under this act shall the testimony of such alleged fugitive be admitted in evidence, and the certificates in this and the first section mentioned shall be conclusive of the right of the person or persons in whose favor granted to remove such fugitive to the state or territory from which he escaped, and shall prevent all molestation of said person or persons by any process issued by any court, judge, magistrate, or other person whomsoever. 7. and be it further enacted that any person who shall knowingly and willingly obstruct, hinder, or prevent such claimant, his agent or attorney, or any person or persons lawfully assisting him, her, or them from arresting such a fugitive from service or labor, either with or aforesaid, or shall to rescue such fugitive or labor, or from the custody of his or her agent or attorney, or other persons, or persons lawfully assisting as aforesaid, when so arrested, pursuant to the authority herein given and declared, or shall aid, abet, or assist such person, so owing service or labor as aforesaid, directly or indirectly, to escape from such claimant, his agent or attorney, or other person or persons legally authorized as aforesaid, or shall harbor or conceal such fugitive so as to prevent the discovery and arrest of such person, after notice or knowledge of the fact that such person was a fugitive from service or labor as aforesaid, shall, for either of said offenses, be subject to a fine not exceeding $1,000 and imprisonment not exceeding 6 months by indictment and conviction before the District Court of the United States for the district in which such offense may have been committed, or before the proper court of criminal jurisdiction, if committed within any one of the organized territories of the United States, and shall moreover forfeit and pay, by way of civil damages to the party injured by such illegal conduct, the sum of $1,000 for each fugitive so lost as aforesaid, to be recovered by action of debt in any of the district or territorial courts aforesaid, within whose jurisdiction the said offense may have been committed. Section 8. And be it further enacted that the marshals, their deputies, and the clerks of the said district and territorial courts shall be paid for their services the like fees as may be allowed to them for similar services in other cases, and where such services are rendered exclusively in the arrest, custody, and delivery of the fugitive to the claimant, his or her agent or attorney, or where such supposed fugitive may be discharged out of the custody from the want of sufficient proof as aforesaid, then such fees are to be paid in the whole by such complainant, his agent or attorney, and in all cases where the proceedings are before a commissioner, he shall be entitled to a fee of $10 in full for his services in each case upon the delivery of the said certificate to the claimant, his or her agent or attorney, or a fee of $5 in cases where proof shall not, in the opinion of such certificate and deliver, inclusive of all services incident to such arrest and examination, to be paid in either case by the claimant, his or her agent of attorney. The person or persons authorized to execute the process to be issued by such commissioners for the arrest and detention of fugitives from service or labor as aforesaid shall also be entitled to a fee of $5 each for each person he or they may arrest and take before any such commissioner as aforesaid, at the instance and request of such claimant, with such other fees as may be deemed reasonable by such commissioner for such other additional services as may be necessarily performed by him or them, such as attendant to the examination, keeping the fugitive in custody, and providing him with food and lodging during his detention and until the final determination of such commissioner, and in general for performing such other duties as may be required by such claimant, his or her attorney or agent or commissioner in the premises. Such fees to be made up in conformity with the fees usually charged by the officers of the courts of justice within the proper district or county, as near as may be practicable, and paid by such claimants, their agents or attorneys, whether such supposed fugitive from service or labor be ordered to be delivered to such claimants by the final determination of such commissioners or not. Sec. 9. And be it further enacted that upon affidavit made by the claimant of such fugitive, his agent or attorney, after such certificate has been issued, that he has reason to apprehend that such fugitive will be rescued by force from his or their possession before he can be taken beyond the limits of the state in which the arrest is made, it shall be the duty of the officer making the arrest to retain such fugitive in his custody, and to remove him to the state whence he fled, and there to deliver him to said claimant, his agent or attorney. And to this end the officer aforesaid is hereby authorized and required to employ so many persons as he may deem necessary to overcome such force, and to retain them in his service so long as circumstances may require. The said officer and his assistants, while so employed, to receive the same compensation and to be allowed the same expenses as are now allowed by law for the transportation of criminals, to be certified by the judge of the district within which the arrest is made, and paid out of the Treasury of the United States. Section 10. And be it further enacted, that when any person held to service or labor in any state or territory, or in the District of Columbia, shall escape therefrom, the party to whom such service or labor shall be due, his, her, or their agent or attorney, may apply to any court of record therein, or judge thereof in vacation, and make such satisfactory proof to such court or judge in vacation of the escape aforesaid, and that the person escaping owed service or labor to such party. Whereupon the court shall cause a record to be made of the matters so proved, and also a general description of the person so escaping, with such convenient certainty as may be, and a transcript of such record authenticated by the attestation of the clerk and of the seal of the said court, being produced in any other state, territory, or district in which the person so escaping may be found, and being exhibited to any judge, commissioner, or other officer authorized by the law of the United States to cause persons escaping from service or labor to be delivered up, shall be held and taken to be full and conclusive evidence of the fact of escape, and that the service or labor of the person escaping is due to the party in such record mentioned, and upon the production by the said party of other and further evidence, if necessary, either oral or by affidavit, in addition to what is contained in the said record of the identity of the person escaping, he or she shall be delivered up to the claimant, and the said court, commissioner, judge, or other person authorized by this act to grant certificates to claimants of fugitives shall, upon the production of the record and other evidences aforesaid, grant to such claimant a certificate of his right to take any such person identified and proved to be owing service or labor as aforesaid, which certificate shall authorize such claimant to seize or arrest and transport such person to the state or territory from which he escaped, provided that nothing herein contained shall be construed as requiring the production of a transcript of such record as evidence as aforesaid, but in its absence the claim shall be heard and determined upon other satisfactory proofs competent in law. Hypnosis of the law. It clothes any ruffian who may be commissioned to act in this new and infamous office of slave catcher with magisterial and judicial authority. 2. It commands and requires good citizens to aid in this heartless and brutal business, imposing the work of bloodhounds upon them. 3rd, it authorizes such kidnappers and rascals as may choose to do so to arrest or seize persons without due process of law. 4th, it jeopardizes the liberty of every colored person by requiring merely a general description and by casting out the evidence of the person arrested. 5. It seeks to annul the writ of habeas corpus, which tends to secure justice and liberty by delivering a person from false imprisonment, or by removing a case from one court to another. 6. It imposes excessive fines. 7. It denies the citizen a jury trial, where his liberty and perhaps his life is at stake. Objections. It violates the spirit and letter of the Constitution in the form and manner of seizures or arrests, in its requirements upon good citizens, in imposing excessive fines, in crushing the habeas corpus, and in depriving the person arrested of a trial by a jury of his peers. 2. It contravenes the law of nature, which is the foundation of all human laws, and which, being dictated by the Almighty himself, is of course superior in obligation to any other. Therefore, this enactment of Congress is both unjust and unreasonable, consequently becomes of no binding force, is null and void. Let it be placed among the abominations. S. M. Africanus, Hartford, Satii. Shame on the costly mockery of piling stone on stone to those who won our liberties, the heroes dead and gone, while we look coldly on and see law-shielded ruffians slay the men who fain would win their own, the heroes of today. Are we pledged to craven silence? Oh, fling it to the wind, the parchment wall that bars us from the least of humankind, that makes us cringe and temporize and dumbly stand at rest, while pity's burning flood of words upheaves within the breast. Though we break our Father's promise, we have nobler duties first. The traitor to humanity is the traitor most accursed. Man is more than constitutions, better rot beneath the sod than be true to church and state, while we're doubly false to God. This has been a Sharri Plaza reading and presentation of the Fugitive Slave Law.